Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Group Captain Alan Brown. We warmly welcome the family of Private William George Taylor, whose story will be told by Group Captain Brown, who is Private Taylor's great-great-nephew. We're honoured to acknowledge Commissioners Nick Caldas, Dr Peggy Brown and the Honourable James Douglas, QC, and the accompanying delegation representing the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide. We're also honoured to welcome General David Berger, Commandant, United States Marine Corps, and Mrs Donna Berger, accompanied by Lieutenant General Rick Burr, Chief of Army, and Mrs Bronwyn Burr, and Brigadier General Terry Bullard, United States Air Force, Officer of Special Investigations, and their accompanying delegations. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors to the memorial, and students representing Premier Spirit of Democracy Study Tour, Victoria. Australia's Federation Guard is the tri-service ceremonial unit of the Australian Defence Force. They provide a ceremonial presence at civil and military events and during visits to Australia by foreign dignitaries. The Guard will now dismount the catafalque party from the tomb of the unknown Australian soldier. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Catapult party, attention! Catapult party, present arms!
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. With golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Catapult party, shoulder! Arms! Catapult party, order! Arms!
Students, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private William George Taylor. William Taylor was born in September 1893 in Bowen, Queensland, the son of Samuel and Jane Brown. Soon after his birth, his father left the family and his mother married Frederick Charles Taylor. When William enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force, he used his stepfather's surname, and all military records list him as William George Taylor. Raised in Cairns, before joining the army, he had been a labourer. Taylor was keen to join the war effort, enlisting in January 1915, soon after the outbreak of the war. He joined the 25th Battalion and travelled south to Enoggera Army Camp near Brisbane, where he trained for 3 months. At the end of June, the unit embarked at Brisbane on a transport ship, Inez, bound for Egypt. After training in Egypt, the 25th Battalion landed at Gallipoli Peninsula in early September. Taylor was temporarily promoted to Lance Corporal in November. In December, he was hit and wounded by shrapnel and evacuated to the hospital ship Gloucester Castle. From there, he was admitted to the 1st Australian General Hospital in Cairo, where he recuperated until mid-January. During this time, the Allied forces withdrew from Gallipoli and the Dardanelles campaign ended. Taylor rejoined his unit in January and trained in Egypt until March, when the 25th Battalion sailed for France. Arriving in France, Taylor went absent without leave for 5 days and reverted to the rank of private. The battalion's first major engagement was on the Western Front in the Battle of Pozières at the end of July 1916. The village of Pozières guarded a strategic ridgeline held by German forces. The 1st Australian Division had taken the village in late July and suffered a heavy artillery bombardment for 4 days before being relieved by the 2nd Division. The 2nd Division, of which Taylor's 25th Battalion was part, mounted another attack to the German positions on the ridge on the 29th of July. This action was unsuccessful, and Taylor was wounded for a second time. After initially being admitted to hospital in Etaples, Taylor recuperated in England for 3 months. He rejoined his unit early in January 1917, but was hospitalised again in March with influenza and trench fever, spending time in and out of hospital until September. With wounds and illnesses, the war was taking its toll on Taylor. From this time, the records show a change in his behaviour. After rejoining the 25th Battalion, Taylor was absent without leave for a short period of time before being apprehended by military police. He was then absent without leave for most of October, most of November, before he was again arrested in early December. For these breaches, he faced a court-martial and was sentenced to 90 days hard labour. He was again recorded absent without leave for the 10 days in March 1918. In early April, Taylor again left his unit without leave. During this period of absence, on the 13th of April 1918, he was killed when a German aircraft carried out a bombing raid over the French town of Amiens. He was 24 years old. William Taylor's remains lie buried in St. Pierre Cemetery near Amiens, alongside nearly 700 other Commonwealth soldiers. Private William George Taylor is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among more than 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private William George Taylor, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
Catapult party, shoulder, arms.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age will not weary them, nor the years condemn. The going down of the sun, and in the morning, We will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Catapult Party, present arms. Catapult Party, shoulder arms. Catapult Party, in words, turn. Catapult Party, red, march.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. I would now like to invite the delegation from the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide to gather at the base of the Pool of Reflection. Memorial staff will meet with you shortly to commence this evening's guided tour. Thank you.